Okay, let's keep on going. Exile chapter 17. So what you get, Dex asked, snatching Sophie's schedule. He frowned as he read the list, and she knew he had to be thinking the same thing she was. Why was Fitz in her telepathy session? Except for PE, where they needed teams, all Foxfire sessions were taught one-on-one between mentor and prodigy, so the curriculum could be customized. Aw, are you guys sad that your lockers aren't next to each other? Marilla asked, nudging her way between them. Because I might be willing to trade mine for a few rare prattle pins. She pointed to a locker a few doors down from Sophie's. Maybe later, Dex mumbled, still glaring at Sophie's schedule. Marilla read over shoulder. Whoa! You have a session with Fitz Baker? I guess. Fitz Baker, you, Marilla repeated. You get to spend 4 hours a week alone with Fitz Baker. Not alone, Sophie whispered, wishing Marilla would keep her voice down. Several heads had turned their way, and Dex was turning redder by the second. Sir Tiergan will be there too. Still, Marilla's eyes turned dreamy. You're the luckiest girl alive. Oh, please, Dex muttered. Man, why can't I be a telepath? Marilla said, ignoring him. I'd better manifest a special ability this year. And it better be something good, like vanishing. Though I'd probably be a guesser like my dad. Controlling the wind. Whoop! De-brinking dew. She let out a dramatic sigh. Meanwhile, Sophie gets 3 ability training sessions. Only 2, Sophie corrected. Linguistics is an ITOL subject. So the only reason you're in it is because you're a polyglot. Wait, an ITOL subject? Like the Eiffel Towers? Sophie asked. Marilla nodded. Level 8, I think. No point in earning to speak, or if you aren't going to be nobility, you know? She'd be learning to speak or... Whoa, it says your session is in the Silver Tower, Dex said, holding her schedule to show her. Wait, you get to go inside the Silver Tower? Jency asked, as he and Bianna joined the group. Do you realize how insanely cool that is? No one's allowed in the Eiffel Towers except for idle prodigies. You have to tell us what it's like. I'll try, Sophie said, struggling to wrap her head around this huge new information. How did she go back to being the super young prodigy with all the older kids? She'd done that already as a 12-year-old high school senior, and it hadn't exactly gone well. Not to mention, she'd be totally lost in the new building. And it wasn't like she knew anyone there or who could help show her around. Actually, worse. She'd always been relieved that she didn't have to worry about running into Princess Sun. Willie. He had his part of the school, and she had hers. They never had to meet. What if they did now? What would she say? What would he say? You're still coming over today, right? Bianca asked, interrupting her mounting panic. Sophie shook her head to clear it. Sorry. Yep. I just need to run home to change first, and then I'll head over. Alden was back from wherever the council had sent him, and she was planning to finally show him the clue. Oh, good. You're spending more time with Wonder Boy, Dex muttered under his breath, earning himself a glare from Sophie. Marilla laughed. What? Dex snapped. Oh, nothing. She tossed her hair and grinned at Sophie. I just have a feeling this is going to be a very interesting year. As much as Sophie hated to admit it, she had the feeling Marilla was right. The towering fence around Everglen glowed so brightly, Sophie had to shield her eyes at the gates, parted to let her inside. The gleaming metal absorbed incoming light, blocking anyone from being able to leap directly inside the grounds without permission, a rare security measure Alden had installed. Sophie sometimes wondered why he felt the need, since crime was supposedly so unheard of. Sandor had insisted on accompanying her to the gate, but he didn't follow her inside. Everglen was one of the few places Sophie was allowed to go without him. Bianca pushed the button to lock them safely inside the grounds. I thought you were going to change. I did. Sophie smoothed the embroidered hem on her loose gold tunic, which was admittedly very similar to those loose gold tunics she'd been wearing during rehearsal. But this one had longer sleeves and a black sash instead of brown. Bianca, on the other hand, looked like she was ready to have her picture taken. Her fitted teal tunic, the exact same shade as her eyes, had intricate pink embroidery that matched her perfectly glossed lips. She'd also swept her dark, wavy hair back with jeweled combs, which sparkled with every step as she led Sophie along the winding path, lined with rainbow-colored trees toward the main house. The expansive grounds of Everglen made the pastures of Havenfield seem like a shoebox, and the estate itself was more like a castle than a house, complete with crystal towers and golden accents and humongous glittering rooms. All elves were given a birth fund with more money than they could ever spend in their lifetime. But somehow the Bakers seemed to have more. Maybe it came from having so many generations of their family in the nobility. That time you got here, Keith called as they crested a hill and entered a grassy meadow prepared with tiny blue flowers. I was getting tired of stomping Fitz to pulp and bramble. Only because you cheat, Fitz shouted, tossing a red tri-pointed ball at Keith. Keith caught it and whipped it back so fast, Fitz had to dive to avoid being smacked in the face. Then the strange ball curved back like a boomerang, and Keith caught it one-handed. Only losers play fair, which is why I called Foster for my team today. Hey, why do you get her? Fitz asked, dusting grass off his dark pants as he picked himself up off the ground. I think the telepaths should be together. Yeah, because that's fair, Bianca argued. Sophie's with me, and we're playing boys against girls. Wait, we are playing? Sophie asked. Base quest, and you are with me. Together we shall be unstoppable. He thumped his fist at the sky. Now she knew why they all wanted her on their team. Base quest was a strategy game, a bit like Capture the Flag, meets hide and seek. And thanks to her ability to track thoughts telepathically, Sophie was undefeated. How about we play without special abilities, she suggested. That will make it fair for everyone. Fitz shrugged. I'm up for the challenge if you are. Lame. I vote for the unstoppable Team Keith or Team Foster Keith. If you're one of those economics who need your name in there, I could share some credit. Whatever you guys want, Bianca said through a sigh. She may have gotten her nexus off early, but she hadn't manifested a special ability. And she was several months older than Fitz had been when he became a telepath. Sophie suspected Bianca's frustration had more to do with the fact that Keith didn't want to be on her team. Though looks like no abilities win. So why don't you team up with Bianca, Keith? She tried. No way, Keith said. If abilities aren't allowed, then I'm with Fitz. He'll let me cheat. He'd better not. And you guys have to quest first. Bianca pointed to a nearby tree with lavender leaves that swirled up the trunk like stripes on a candy cane. That's our base. You have 5 minutes to hide, and then we're coming for you. Sounds good, Fitz agreed. And you're going to regret the no special abilities rule, he transmitted to Sophie. She jumped this time, surprised that his mental voice felt louder than usual. His words were still echoing when she transmitted back. Hey, I had to give you guys a fighting chance for once. He grinned. Keith looked back and forth between them and rolled his eyes. Then he grabbed Fitz's arms and pulled him into the woods. When the 5 minutes were up, Bianca took off after them. Sophie went to the opposite way in case they'd split up or doubled back. Usually she stood guard at the base and transmitted Fitz and Keith's location to Bianca. But if she couldn't track the guys' thoughts, they both needed to go hunting. She ran up the nearest hill, hoping to catch a glimpse of the boys from above, but there was no sign of them anywhere. She stopped to catch her breath, trying to decide which way to run next, when a bird startled out of a bush at the bottom of a hill. Fitz and Keith burst from the leaves and took off running. Sophie raced after them, channeling all of her core energy into her legs to speed down her downhill sprint. Somehow the guys managed to stay ahead of her, though, and as they drew dangerously close to the base, she focused on the warm hum in her mind, trying another brain push. The rare skill wasn't technically cheating, since she was just channeling a different energy that most people couldn't feel. But as her mental energy mixed with her burning muscles, she felt a strange sort of pull. Her vision narrowed to a singular point, a speck of light in the distance. And as she rushed toward it, she felt her feet leave the ground. Without realizing it, she decided to jump. Wind whipped against her cheeks as she soared so high and fast. She felt like she was flying. Then she started to drop, and her vision cleared, and she realized the purple branches of her base tree were far, far too close. This is going to hurt. That's the end of chapter 17. Thank you for listening.